The true cross represents one of Christianity's most venerated relics, the actual wooden cross upon which Jesus Christ was crucified according to Christian tradition. This artifact has captivated the imagination of believers and historians alike for nearly 2 millennia, standing as both a physical connection to foundational Christian events and as an object of political power throughout history. The story of the true cross is not merely a religious tale but a complex historical narrative intertwining imperial ambition, religious devotion, warfare, and cultural exchange across multiple civilizations and centuries. Let's explore the fascinating journey of this legendary relic and the remarkable personalities and places that shaped its history. The discovery: Helena's quest in Jerusalem. The true cross saga begins with Helena, mother of Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. Helena was no ordinary imperial mother, born of humble origins, possibly as a stable maid or innkeeper's daughter in Bithynia, modern-day Turkey. She rose to become one of the most influential women in the Roman Empire. Despite being divorced by Constantine's father Constantius when he sought more advantageous political alliances, Helena maintained her dignity and was later elevated to Augusta, Empress, by her son. Helena's conversion to Christianity mirrored her son's pivotal embrace of the faith, which had transformed the religion from a persecuted sect to the empire's favored faith. In her 70s, an extraordinary age for travel in the ancient world, Helena embarked on a remarkable pilgrimage to the Holy Land around 326 to 328. Jerusalem at this time was undergoing a dramatic transformation from a relatively minor Roman colonial outpost, then called Aelia Capitolina, to a center of Christian pilgrimage. The city still bore the scars of its destruction by Roman forces under Titus, and its subsequent rebuilding as a Roman colony under Hadrian. The sites associated with Christ's life and death had been deliberately obscured, with a temple to Venus reportedly built over Golgotha, the site of the crucifixion. According to accounts by church historians, Helena supervised excavations at this site. These historians, writing a century after the events, describe how workers uncovered 3 crosses. The challenge then became identifying which was the cross of Christ versus those of the 2 thieves crucified alongside him. The Bishop of Jerusalem, Macarius, proposed a test. Each cross was brought near a noble woman of Jerusalem who was seriously ill and near death. When the 3rd cross touched her, she was immediately and miraculously healed, thus identifying the true cross. This account, while perhaps embellished with time, reflects the deep importance early Christians placed on physical connections to Christ's passion. The wood of the cross was reportedly cedar, though various traditions claim it contained cedar, pine, cypress, and olive woods, each with symbolic significance in Near Eastern culture. Helena's discovery transformed the landscape of Jerusalem, leading to Constantine commissioning the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which would become Christianity's holiest site and the center of pilgrimages for centuries to come. The true cross in Constantinople, imperial treasure. After the discovery, Helena allegedly divided the cross, sending significant portions to Constantinople while leaving the larger section in Jerusalem. Constantinople, modern Istanbul, was the magnificent new capital founded by Constantine, designed to rival and ultimately replace Rome as the empire's center. Named after himself, this city represented Constantine's vision of a Christian Roman Empire. The arrival of true cross fragments in Constantinople elevated the city's spiritual status immensely. The fragments were housed in the chapel of St. Constantine within the Great Palace Complex, a sprawling series of buildings that served as the Byzantine imperial residence for nearly a millennium. This palace complex was unrivaled in the medieval world, featuring golden mosaics, mechanical thrones that could be raised and lowered, and automated golden lions that would roar when foreign dignitaries approached. The possession of the true cross fragments gave Constantinople tremendous prestige. Byzantine emperors used relics of the true cross in battle standards, believing they provided divine protection. The emperors would also present tiny fragments to important allies and dignitaries, using the relic as a tool of diplomacy and soft power throughout the Mediterranean world. Jerusalem's portion, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The larger portion remaining in Jerusalem was housed in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, perhaps the most significant shrine in Christendom. This magnificent church, commissioned by Constantine and overseen by his mother Helena, was deliberately built over the sites of Christ's crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. The original church was far grander than today's structure, featuring a massive basilica, the martyrium, an open courtyard with the Hill of Golgotha, and the Anastasis Resurrection rotunda over the tomb. The true cross was kept in a silver chest and displayed for veneration on special occasions, particularly Good Friday, when pilgrims would come forward to kiss and touch the sacred wood. Jerusalem during this period became a cosmopolitan center of pilgrimage. Wealthy Christians from across the empire established hospices and monasteries around the Holy Sepulchre. The Bordeaux pilgrim, an anonymous traveler from Gaul, and the Spanish nun Egeria both left accounts of visiting Jerusalem and venerating the true cross in the 4th century, giving us glimpses of the elaborate rituals surrounding the relic. The Sassanid capture, Khosrau II and Persian conquest. The first major disruption in the true cross story came in 614 when the Sassanid Empire of Persia conquered Jerusalem. The Sassanids were the powerful Persian dynasty that had been Rome's and later Byzantium's principal eastern rival for centuries, controlling territories roughly equivalent to modern Iran, Iraq, and parts of Central Asia. King Khosrau II, known as Parviz, the Victorious, led this expansion. Khosrau was a complex ruler. Persian chronicles describe him as a patron of arts and architecture whose palace at Ctesiphon, near modern Baghdad, featured mechanical trees with singing metal birds. His principal wife was the Christian Shurin, suggesting his hostility toward Byzantium was more political than religious. When Persian forces under generals Sharbaraz and Shahin captured Jerusalem, they reportedly massacred thousands of Christians and destroyed many churches. However, they took the true cross intact, not to destroy it, but as a prestigious war trophy. The cross was transported to the Sassanid capital at Ctesiphon, where it was reportedly kept in the treasury alongside other captured Byzantine treasures. This loss was a devastating psychological blow to Eastern Christians. Many Byzantine chroniclers interpreted it as divine punishment for their sins, while others saw it as an apocalyptic sign. The capture of Christianity's most sacred relic by a Zoroastrian power represented not just military defeat but a spiritual crisis. Emperor Heraclius, the unlikely hero. The Byzantine response came through one of history's most dramatic yet overlooked emperors, Heraclius. Heraclius had taken power during a period of profound crisis, with the Byzantine Empire facing simultaneous threats from Persians in the east, Avars and Slavs in the Balkans, and internal civil war. Born in Cappadocia, central Turkey, to an aristocratic family of Armenian descent, Heraclius was a remarkable military innovator who reorganized the Byzantine army and personally led campaigns despite the tradition that emperors remain in Constantinople. Contemporary accounts describe him as deeply religious, with a fair complexion, auburn hair, and penetrating blue eyes that could inspire both loyalty and fear. Between 622 to 628, Heraclius launched a series of brilliant campaigns against the Sassanid Empire. In a bold strategic move, he circumvented Persian forces by sailing through the Black Sea to strike directly at the Persian heartland. The Byzantine forces won decisive victories, culminating in the Battle of Nineveh in 627 where they destroyed the main Persian army. This dramatic reversal of fortune led to a civil war within Persia. Khosrau II was overthrown and executed by his son Kavad II, who immediately sued for peace with Byzantium. The new Sassanid regime returned all conquered Byzantine territories and treasures including the True Cross. The return of the cross in 630 was marked by extraordinary ceremony. According to tradition, Heraclius himself carried the cross on his back during its entry into Jerusalem. When he initially attempted to enter the city in imperial splendor with golden armor and jewels, an invisible force prevented him from passing through the gate. A priest advised him that Christ had entered Jerusalem in humility, not pomp. Heraclius then removed his finery, walked barefoot, and was able to proceed. This exaltation of the Holy Cross became one of the major feast days in both Eastern and Western Christianity, still celebrated on September 14. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was restored, though with less grandeur than Constantine's original structure due to the empire's depleted finances after the Long Persian War. Muslim conquest and fragmentation. Heraclius's triumph would prove short-lived. Just a few years after recovering the True Cross, a new power emerged from the Arabian Peninsula. The rapidly expanding Arab Muslim forces defeated Byzantine armies at the Battle of Yarmouk and captured Jerusalem in The conquest was led by Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab, one of Muhammad's closest companions and the second Islamic caliph. Unlike many conquests of the era, the Muslim takeover of Jerusalem was relatively bloodless. According to tradition, Patriarch Sophronius personally handed the city keys to Umar, who guaranteed protection for Christian and Jewish holy places. The fate of the true cross after this point becomes murky. Some sources suggest the main relic remained in Jerusalem under Christian custody at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, though with diminished public ceremonies. Jerusalem under early Islamic rule was governed with remarkable religious tolerance by medieval standards. The Umayyad caliphs, particularly Abd al-Malik, transformed Jerusalem's physical landscape with magnificent Islamic structures like the Dome of the Rock, but generally allowed Christians continued access to their holy sites. Other historical traditions suggest portions of the cross may have been evacuated to Constantinople before Jerusalem's fall, while some may have been sent to Alexandria or Cyprus for safekeeping. This period likely marked the beginning of the true cross's significant fragmentation. The Crusader period, relic as rallying cry. By the 11th century, Jerusalem was under the control of the Fatimid Caliphate, based in Egypt. Relations between Christians and Muslims had deteriorated somewhat compared to earlier periods. When Pope Urban II launched the First Crusade in 1095, recovery of the Holy Land and protection of the sacred relics, including the True Cross, featured prominently in his appeals. The Crusaders captured Jerusalem in 1099 after a bloody siege. They established the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem and restored the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to Latin Christian control. Various chronicles mention the rediscovery of portions of the True Cross, suggesting that significant fragments had indeed remained in Jerusalem during Islamic rule. The Kingdom of Jerusalem created an elaborate cult around their portion of the True Cross. It became their most sacred battle standard, carried into combat by the bishops of Bethlehem in a special reliquary. The military orders like the Knights Templar and Hospitallers took oaths to protect it with their lives. The most decisive event in the True Cross's medieval history came at the Battle of Hattin in 1187. There, the Muslim forces led by Saladin Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub decisively defeated the Crusader army. Among their losses was the kingdom's True Cross relic, carried into battle by Bishop Rufinus of Acre. Saladin was one of the most remarkable figures of the medieval period, known even among his Christian enemies for his chivalry, wisdom, and tolerance. Born of Kurdish descent in Tikrit, modern Iraq, he rose from relatively modest origins to unite Egypt and Syria under his rule. Though a devout Muslim, contemporary accounts describe him as fair-haired, mild-mannered, and scrupulously ethical. According to various accounts, Saladin treated the captured relic with respect but refused enormous ransoms offered for its return, understanding its powerful symbolic value. Some chronicles claim it was sent to Damascus and later to Baghdad, while others suggest it might have been destroyed. The loss of this major portion of the True Cross devastated Western Christendom and contributed to the call for the Third Crusade. Fragments across Europe, from faith to skepticism. Even as the main portions of the True Cross in Jerusalem changed hands through conquest, smaller fragments had been spreading throughout Europe for centuries. Every major cathedral and many minor churches claimed pieces of the True Cross, often housed in spectacularly ornate reliquaries of gold, silver, and precious gems. The Abbey of Saint Croix, Holy Cross, in Poitiers, France, founded by Queen Radegund in the 6th century, claimed one of the earliest and largest fragments in Western Europe. The story goes that Radegund, a princess of Thuringia who became a Frankish queen before renouncing her crown for religious life, obtained her relic directly from Byzantine Emperor Justin II. By the late medieval period, True Cross fragments could be found from Norway to Sicily, from Ireland to Hungary. Some of the most significant collections included Santa Croce in Jerusalem, Rome, founded by Helena herself. This basilica claimed substantial fragments. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris received a large fragment during the reign of Louis IX. Street. Louis, who built the exquisite Sainte-Chapelle specifically to house it and other Passion relics. Trier Cathedral in Germany claims a significant fragment with a continuous provenance dating to Helena's time. Monastery of Santo Toribio de Liébana in Spain claims to possess the largest surviving piece, 634 mm long. The proliferation of relics eventually led to skepticism. By the 16th century, humanist scholar Erasmus of Rotterdam famously remarked there were enough pieces of the true cross to build a ship. Protestant reformer John Calvin similarly quipped there were enough fragments to fill a large ship. Modern historians have attempted to calculate whether the volume of claimed fragments exceeds what a Roman cross might reasonably contain. In 1870, French architect Charles Rohault de Fleury catalogued all known fragments and estimated they constituted approximately a third of a cross of realistic dimensions, suggesting that while many individual claims might be dubious, the overall tradition wasn't as exaggerated as reformers claimed. Current status: scattered legacy. Today, no single repository claims to hold the majority of the original cross. The Greek Orthodox monastery of Mount Athos in Greece claims significant fragments, as do various churches throughout Europe. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem still possesses fragments, though much smaller than what it held in earlier centuries. Scientific analysis of various true cross relics has provided mixed results. Most fragments date to the appropriate ancient period, though determining whether would come specifically from 1st century Jerusalem remains beyond current scientific capabilities. Many reliquaries containing supposed fragments have remained sealed for centuries, with authorities reluctant to open them for testing. The historical detective's assessment. As historical detectives examining this fascinating case, we must acknowledge several key factors. Authentication challenges. Modern science cannot definitively authenticate any existing fragment as being from the actual cross of Jesus's crucifixion. Wood dating can confirm age but not specific provenance. Historical gap. The approximately 300-year gap between the crucifixion and Helena's discovery presents a significant challenge. There is no documentary evidence of the cross's preservation during this period, when Christianity was often a persecuted religion without the resources to maintain such relics. Cultural context. The incredible spiritual and economic value of relics to medieval churches and kingdoms created powerful incentives for both preservation and fabrication. Pilgrimage sites with prestigious relics could transform local economies. Geopolitical significance. The true cross transcended simple religious devotion, becoming a tool of imperial legitimacy, diplomatic relations, and military morale across multiple civilizations. Most plausible theory. The original Jerusalem portion of what Helena identified as the true cross was likely lost, destroyed, or irretrievably fragmented following the Battle of Hattin in 1187, with no single substantial piece surviving intact to the present day. The fragments that do exist throughout Christendom likely include both authentic pieces of Helena's discovery and later substitutions. The true cross represents one of history's most enduring relic mysteries, a case where religious tradition, imperial politics, military conquest, and medieval commerce intersect across 17 centuries. Even for those who question its authenticity, the relic's impact on world history remains undeniable, shaping pilgrim routes, inspiring artistic masterpieces, influencing diplomatic relations, and even directing the course of military campaigns that redrew the map of the medieval world. What began with a mother's quest to connect with her newly embraced faith became one of history's most venerated objects, an artifact that touched the lives of countless individuals, from Roman empresses to humble medieval pilgrims, from Byzantine generals to modern museum curators, all part of an unbroken chain of human fascination with touching the divine.